All right, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining another edition of Channels Beans Hangout. Today, we'll be looking at the system of governance in Nigeria. Just before we start, let me just introduce those who we have on the Hangout. First of all, we have Eyitayo King. Eyitayo is calling from Ewekuru in Abeokuta, Ogun State, Nigeria. And we have Steve also. Steve Oladeji is in Dublin, Republic of Ireland. We have Sonny Kiri. Sonny Kiri is in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. All guys, thanks for joining the Hangouts.
You're welcome.
All right. So, Steve, you joined the Hangout first, so I'll give you that benefit of doubt to tell us what you think about where we are and why we are where we are and why you think, or if you do disagree, on the system that we're using, of course, in government. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, if I'm to say, I'm 49 this year, and I grew up with the system, which is a parliamentary system before the military took over, and the military then think the parliamentary was not good. They introduced presidential system, and we've been on presidential system since then up to now. But what I see in the two systems, the system itself is okay, but the people need to change their mindset. If you bring another system in without people changing their mindset, it will result in the same thing. We will still have the same story to tell. So it's not about the system, but the people who are running the system. The parliamentary system was being run in England for years. They succeeded. And the presidential system is running in most of the country. It is not about the system, but the mindset of the people who are running the system.
All right. Thank you for that brief and concise opener. So I'll come to you, my Eyitayo. You just heard Steve's version of the system of government. He is trying to say the people are the problem and not the system. What is your take on that?
Incidentally, I was having a discussion with a friend of mine this morning at the office. He was also complaining about the system at work, that we don't actually have a system at work. And I told him, no, we have a system. It's the operators of the system that matters. In Nigeria, the system of government we have is not the issue. Whatever system we bring in will not be the issue, but we ourselves, where we do not allow lay down principles and lay down procedures to take its full course, your blank will always run into problem. Now you're supposed to be at work by 7 a.m. You choose to come to work by 7:30, and your boss sanctions you, and you say your boss is not a good boss. That is such a hard-on person. I mean, it's so simple. The system will run if we, the people, allow the system to run. The system of government is not the problem. It's we, the people, that would not allow it to run. Whatever system we bring in, sorry, if we go to Mars anywhere in the world and bring a system, it will fail, provided we will not allow it to work. That's my take.
All right, thank you for that. That was also brief and concise as well. We have a new caller on the Hangout, Tuko Money. I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, good afternoon and thank you for joining the Hangout. Tuko, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, can you turn on your video, please?
Okay, sure.
All right, so while you do that, we'll move on and then we'll come back to you when you're ready to make your contribution. Sonny, two contributors already have made their own, said what they actually feel about the system. You listened, I could see at the point you were nodding, but what exactly, where do you stand on this issue?
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. I think what we have in Nigeria is the most acceptable system that people practice in democracy. Our system is not that different from that they practice in America. But what we need to change is our value system, not the system of government. Because our value system of Nigeria is not what it used to be then. Our system, our value system now is more of money and more of power. So therefore, everybody is trying to go for how to get the power, not thinking of following the laws. Our laws are perfect. Everything there are perfect, but even those people in power, they don't follow the laws. They don't follow the constitution because they know that the citizens don't even know their right from left, and whosoever that has made money through one illegal means or the other, we come to the masses. Maybe if that person threw 5,000 for them, they will say that is the most acceptable man in Nigeria, so I will support this man. So our value system is what we need to be talking about, not the government, not the system of government. Our value system of money, how Nigerians can do anything because of money. That value system should be what we will be discussing now, not the system of government, because I think our system of government is perfectly okay. But we, the citizens of the country, what are our values? Is it money? Is it all about money? We are now so poor that all we have is money. We don't have any other thing than money in the country. So if we are going to make any change in the country, it's not the system of government, it's our value system. If we can get that right, every other thing will follow. Thank you.
All right, Sonny. Thank you for your own contributions there. We also have another new entrant, Mbasake Martin Obono. Thanks for joining the Hangout and good afternoon. We can't hear you, Martin. We can't hear you still.
Can you hear me?
All right, great. We can hear you now.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you for joining the Hangout. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the UK.
Okay, great. Where in the UK?
I'm calling from Buckingham.
Pardon?
Buckingham.
Oh, Buckingham.
Yeah.
All right, I'll come back to you, but just before I do that, let me just keep you up to speed. We're looking at the way forward. We're looking at the way forward, looking at the system of government, of course, in Nigeria, and we're trying to see how we can move from where we are. Trying to look at what the problem is. Of course, the other contributors have made their own contributions. While some are blaming the lack of values, some are actually blaming the people. But I'll get back to you and to hear you and to hear what you have to say on that. But for now, Tuko, can you hear me? Tuko, good afternoon. All right, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you clearly.
Is your real name Tuko?
Sorry?
Is your real name Tuko?
My real name is Sufi.
Okay, that would be great. If you can just type that in the chat box, I do appreciate that. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Taiwan.
Taiwan.
Yes.
All right, great. Where in Taiwan are you?
In Taoyuan, a place called Taoyuan.
Okay, just put all that in the chat box. We do appreciate that. So, what is your take? Of course, you did hear the previous contributors. So what's your take on this topic we're actually discussing?
I think the problem with Nigeria today is not really the system of government. The problem is the implementation of the Nigerian system, basically. And then Nigeria needs to build institutions that can implement what this system is all about. We are not really following what the system is all about. We are off the track, basically, completely, I would say 90% off the track. The system, the people, and the government are all to be blamed, not only the government. So I think the most important thing is the Nigerian people must have to agree, and the Nigerian government must have all put hands on the table to build institutions that can take us to the promised land. Because all the countries that are very developed are not relying on individuals. Nigeria has so many great individuals, very good people who can do things, but the system cannot allow them to do that because there are no institutions that can sustain such progressive people. We run a very corrupt system, both in government and among fellow civilians. So if there are institutions that can really function, then of course you will not have this kind of problems. To give an example, if today there is, let's say, flooding, NEMA is there, the institution, you don't need to be waiting for the rich Nigerians to be making donations or other people. So I think we need to build institutions, not individuals.
All right. Sophie, let me just call you Tuko for the meantime. But in the meantime, please do put your name and your location, of course, in Taiwan in the chat box, and we'll continue from that. So, Martin, I'll come to you now.
Okay.
What is your take?
Essentially, I think there is nothing wrong with the system of government in Nigeria. As it stands presently, we are practicing democracy. And democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So if we say that we need to change the system of government in Nigeria, then we are going to change the entire context of democracy. That means we are going to change the way things are done by the people, and we are going to change the way things are done for the people, and we are going to change everything holistically. And this is not the problem of Nigeria. I keep saying, even if we have an autocratic system of government in place in Nigeria, we will still have, we can have the best autocratic system and we can have the best democratic system. What I think is a fundamental problem is the system with which leaders are actually produced. The system through which leaders actually emerge must be looked into critically. I'm talking about the electoral system right now. I'm talking about the justice system, and I'm talking about the electioneering system as well. I mean, a system that does not abhor election rigging will always throw up people who would abuse the law. We have a federation. We are practicing federal system of government as well, and then you see that the head is overwhelmed, and the federative units are just there, lacking in everything, lacking in terms of. I believe that if we are practicing full federalism, then the federating units like the states and the rest of it should be able to produce, should be able to have control over their resources. They should be able to contribute whatever resources they've got or they are generating to the center, and not everybody in different states of the federation going to the center, that's Abuja, to go and get stipends for themselves. No. So in a nutshell, I don't think there's a problem wrong with the system of government in Nigeria. I just believe that there's something wrong with the way the system brings about leaders and produces people who hold political offices who don't respect the law. People have asked, is there anything wrong with the law in Nigeria? And I keep saying no, there's nothing wrong with the law in Nigeria. What is actually wrong with the system, with the law in Nigeria is about the implementation. Up to today, how many judges have you seen that have been arrested for corruption or for passing wrong judgments? How many judges have been held accountable for perversing justice? How many people? All these things are questions we throw up and we keep asking that we've not really gotten answers. So the problem is still boils down to the fact that there are adequate laws, but the point is that people who are implementing these laws, who are supposed to interpret these laws, who are supposed to execute these laws, are not doing what is right. Can you hear me?
Of course I can. Go ahead.
Okay, so the problem is not about the structure of how the system is run, but it is about how the people who are supposed to be the custodians of this system, how they actually run this system. I think that is where the fundamental problem lies. And until we get that sorted, okay, let's take for instance, people were shouting about the Buhari Idiagbon regime, that the Buhari Idiagbon regime was one of the most disciplined regimes we have in Nigeria, and things were done right because we had war against indiscipline and all that. Now, people were beginning to imbibe the culture of orderliness during that time. There was a lot of orderliness in Nigeria and all that. Now, it was an autocratic system. It was a military regime. Now, what I'm trying to say is, in essence, is that it was the individuals who were in power. It was the Idi Agbon who was in power. It was the Buhari who was in power that made these things work. We have an EFCC. Where Ribadu had EFCC at his disposal, there were a lot of things happening. People were like, oh, you don't steal. Every little thing, I'll send EFCC after you. There was a little bit of orderliness and fear. Now, EFCC is still there as an institution. But the people manning it today do not instill that kind of fear that there is an anti-corruption agency that will go after you if you steal. You steal blatantly and nothing is being done. So it is still about the kind of people that the system throws up. Because these laws are still there, and I think there are even much more better laws right now, in the system than we had before. So it is all about the people who we actually make custodians of the state and of the system that are not doing the right thing. If you ask me about how the system is, the structure of the system, I think it's very fine.
All right. Thank you there. And of course, you actually raised some concerns, talking about judges being held accountable for perverting justice or for passing wrong judgments. At the point, sometime last year or last 2 years, the NBA actually suspended some senior advocates of Nigeria from practicing. I think we were able to see something go, the way you're just hoping it will go. But we just, of course, need to see more of that. In continuation, we have a new entrant to the Hangout again. Hannibal, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Hannibal, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for joining the Hangout.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so we'll come back to you and we'll get your take on what we're actually discussing. All right, Eitai, I would come to you on this. People are saying that we're practicing the same system with the Americans, and the Americans are getting it right, so why don't we get it? But if you look at the fact that America got its independence quite a long time ago, and it took them, of course, a long time to be where they are. How do you bring that to comparison, looking at Nigeria now? Do you think we need to wait this long before we get it right, or you think we can actually, bypass all these things since we have a blueprint and go ahead to make it happen?
One of the best laws anywhere in the world.
Can you come again, please?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Come
Hello?
again, please. Yeah, I can hear you. Come again.
I said, for me, just like the others said, I think we have some of the best laws formulated anywhere in the world. But the major challenge we have, which I've always been thinking about, is our communal nature. We have allowed it to affect our psyche. Now, let's take, for example, a neighbor of mine has committed an offense. He has been taken to the station or arrested. Just because I happen to know the DPO in that very police station, they come to me, plead on my behalf, please let's go to this DPO and subvert the justice. But what happens? I go there, I talk to the man, and then justice is no longer being done. The man gets away scot-free. Remember, he has done something wrong, and that thing he did wrong has gone against someone where we don't have justice. And for me, I think lack of justice has actually affected us. If we allow things to run the way they're supposed to run, you do wrong, you get punished. You do right, you get rewarded. We would not be in this sorry pass that we are now in the country. Changing system, for me, it's not. USA, if you look at an average American, he is so much in the law. He believes that whatever come what may, the law will be on his side. But for us here, you find out that though the law is supposed to be on our side, but we have people who are ready to subvert the law. They are ready to subvert the law from being done the way it's supposed to be done. Where justice is not available, where we don't have justice, you would not have peace. And since we are not able to have peace, we cannot have, we cannot live the way we're supposed to live. It's not the system. For me, it's not the system. America is going on where they are now because they allow their system to run. They allow justice to take peace. Take cognizance in their lives, and then they have peace as I think the way they should. But now, if we must go on moving forward, we have to have a paradigm shift where you and I will have to assume that what is wrong and it has to be punished. That's my take.
All right, great. Thanks for that, Tayo. Hannibal, you're just joining, but I'm sure you have a glimpse as to what we're talking about. Do you? I didn't hear you. Can you come again?
Yes. Yeah, I said I know the topic we're talking about. It's about changing the systems, yeah?
Exactly. So what's your take on it? Of course,
Hello?
the previous contributors. Yeah, I can hear you, Hannibal.
Yes. You see, I don't think there's anything wrong with Nigerian system of government. You know, the problem we have is the people operating the system. You understand? You see, if you take the form of government we are operating in Nigeria, it touches all the factors of the economy, down from the local government to the executives, you know, to the president. So if everybody is doing what they are supposed to do, you will see that each and every one of Nigerian citizens will live a very good life. Take, for instance, you find that even local government chairmen, they behave as if they don't have responsibility. You know, they behave as if they are not they are not assigned to any responsibilities. They cannot maintain primary school, which is their responsibility. They cannot maintain streets, you know, to build street roads. You know, everybody is looking straight to the president. You know, that is a problem. The system of government in Nigeria is the best. You know, is the best. So there's nothing wrong with it at all. All we need to do is to change the people that is operating the system, to make sure that we put the right people there, qualified people to operate the system. You know, because when you put a square peg in a square hole, your problem is solved. Situation where we put people because of corruption and because of who know who, you know, you put the wrong people there, we wouldn't go anywhere. You know, if you check some of our governors now, you will see that many of them don't even have anything to offer. When they speak on television, you will see that they don't have nothing upstairs. You know, those are the people that we look up to. What is wrong? For me, the system is very good. You just need to change the people operating the system. Put good people there. That's my take on it.
All right, thank you. But just as the headline suggests, what is the way forward? What exactly is the way forward?
Like I said, the way forward is, you see, we have election in 2015. You know, that is the way forward is for us Nigerians, you know, for people on ground, to vote the right personalities. That is the way forward. You know, you don't put, if you look at the system, if you look at how white people operate, they operate with ideology, you know, because what are you bringing on the table? You have to know what the politicians are bringing on the table, not sharing bags of rice, bags of beans, you know, salt and all that. It's bullshit. That is a very long things they do, you know. So what is the way forward is to put the right people there, to look for the right personalities, qualified individuals, people with ideology, people with 21st century's ideology, to put there to fix the problems that we are having today. You know, it's not the old way of doing things because they have the money and, you know, money bags. No. The citizens have to make sure that they vote the right people. You understand? And demand accountability. That is also all. Not to fold arms, take 1,000 naira, they give them small money, and they vote, they make noise, and everybody is quiet. No. Things have to change. Demand accountability and put the right people in the right position. That's the way forward.
All right. Steve, what's your take on this? Do you agree with Hannibal?
I do agree with him, but before we go further, I believe the American system of presidential, which we copy, like I say copy because 1976 they introduced the kind of presidential system we are having, doing now. No, not necessarily 1966. I'm sorry, 1966 during the war regime, and they put everything at the center. All the bodies, presidential system supposed to be distributed to the state, to the local government, and each state government responsible for their state. But now, everything is being done by federal government. You don't even know what the state government's responsibility is. You don't know what the local government responsibilities is. But the bodies, from the statistics, I learned that federal government is the most employer in the state. They employ the largest numbers of people, which is not supposed to be done. So until we have federal government relinquish responsibilities to the state, letting state take care of themselves, like the issue of the Boko Haram. Federal government could, if the state have their own security outfit, they'll be able to tackle their own people. So if they couldn't, that is when the federal government come in. Now, because the police are being controlled by federal government, so many other ministries being controlled by the federal government. State does not even have their own security output. So what do you expect? In America, which we copied, they have their own. They have state government. They have state troopers. They have local sheriff at the local level. But the federal government control police. So that's why they have authority over police. If, for instance, any of them do anything wrong, the police could not go and say, okay, you've done this wrong, we want to arrest you. Tomorrow that police officer will be gone because of the power invested to the people at the top. Now, why am I saying this? Until we change our mindset and try to do things the way it is, we will still sing the same song. Until we put people, now, like the other contributor said, what are the work of local government chairmen? We only voted for them, and after the elections, we don't hear about them. But what we see is big cars, big houses, spraying money at the parties. That's all we see about the local government chairmen. We don't see any of their work. You cannot even have access to them to see your local government chairman, to talk to him about progress in the state, in your local community. So until federal government put power in where it belongs, we still continue to have the same problem.
All right, Steve, thank you. In a nutshell, I know you're just trying to talk about devolution of power. But while you were talking, Sonny Kiwi disagreed with you on a particular thing you made mention of, which is the issue of state police. And again, I would just advise that when a contributor is making his contributions, you can just put in a comment or a contribution to add to it in the chat box. You know, it helps to broaden the scope of the discussion. So while you were talking, Sonny Kiwi said that Nigeria is not ready for state police. I would like you to just expatiate on that, Sonny.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what our governors are doing. Some governors they want to have their own world. And if you provide the state police to Nigeria, all the states in Nigeria, you will see a problem whereby some state wants to fight the federal government. You are in Nigeria, you can see things that going on. Like there was a conference they had in Asaba last year, and the Inspector General of Police, he asked a question, and nobody can give him a particular answer to that question. He asked a question. He said, we are in Nigeria whereby a state conducts local government chairman election, and the opposition party won in those elections, and nobody can say in a particular state at least 2 or 3 opposition parties won election. So that is, and he now gave a final answer that he said that is to show you that Nigeria is not right for state policing. We copy America, right? But we don't copy America in terms of fairness. We don't copy America in terms of development. We don't copy America in terms of ideology. What we do is we just bring their constitution and we practice it. We don't follow the step that they follow to develop their own country. If we have state police in Nigeria, that is where we'll be having problem. I remember well that the former governor of Bayelsa State was empowering some guys to kill innocent people that who don't support his administration in his government. If that has to be state police, he will also use them in the same way. So with the way our governors are using thuggery system of government, if we give state police, that is a place where we will be crying that, oh, I wish we knew. So as we are now, it's still okay when the federal government is taking care of that police aspect. If some state, like if you go to the eastern part of the country, like Anambra and some other places, they have a vigilante. Even the vigilante, they are working under Nigerian police. So if they have any information, they give to the Nigerian police. That is not to say that they have their own freedom to carry out whatever they want to do. They are still relating to the Nigerian police. So that is what we can afford. We can't give states that total freedom to have their own police. That will bring a big problem in the country. Thank you.
All right, Sonny. Just again, while you were talking, Steve also says he has a response to what you just said. But then Sufi is also saying that the federal government uses the police against the state governors. And Mbaseke is also adding that the problem of Boko Haram is because of the absence of state security. Just before I come back to you, Steve, we have a new entrant, Benjamin Obagorela. Thank you for joining the Hangout and good afternoon. Benjamin, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
All right, thanks for coming on the Hangout.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
All right, so I'll come back to you. But first of all, Sufi, can you explain what you just said? I mean, you're talking about state policing and the federal government using the present police we have, against the state governors. Can you just shed more light on that?
Hello?
Can you come again? Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me? All right. An example of that is we see in the news during the Inspector Umba and the Rivers State Governor, the problem he has been having. And recently we have seen with the election of the selection of the Emir, the new Emir Sanusi Lamido, and so many other cases. But then to talk on the main issue of the discussion, I would like to add on this, that the main problem, we need to have a new thinking. For me, the new thinking is for the young people to come in, because this problem we are having today in Nigeria is not Jonathan administration is not the root of the problem. We can always blame the present government. We can blame it for not doing enough to solve the problem, but it is not the main problem. The main problem is the way we do things, the way the system is being run. And that has been happening decades ago. So I think the solution, the way forward, is for the young people to come in. There should be a new thinking. Young people must come in. Just take a look at the national conference going on. There is very low representation of young people in Nigeria. And if we are to talk about how forward Nigeria should go, the future of Nigeria, young people must get involved in it. So I'm tired of seeing these recycled old politicians with old ideas leading this country. Most of them are the reason why we are in this mess today. Most of them. So I don't think there should be a new phase. The young people must take over with the new ideas. The world is being run today. Other countries, very developed countries, and other countries, very advanced countries, are being run by young people. Today, if you are young and you don't belong to the rich family or whatever, you are basically not going to make it. That's what it means. And here we are talking, the big population of Nigeria, the majority of the people are not getting involved in this kind of discussion. But I'm happy, at least we now have a platform like this to talk about it. Most of us here who are talking here are living outside the country, including myself. But the big population, majority of the people, the Nigerian people, are not getting involved in this discussion, and they are the ones that have the power to elect the people. Most 70%, those poor Nigerians in the villages, in the rural areas, are not involved in this kind of discussions. You know, so these are the people that have the votes. I and you, I think we are Nigerians. We are just, I think, 10 here in number. Indeed, we are beginning this discussion, but the majority of the people are not involved, and that is why I think we should involve them to understand why we are in this maze. So if they can understand that, they can, if they have a new way of thinking, then we can be able to change the officials who run our country. But then my point is the way forward, young people must be involved, and we the young people must be the ones to run this country. That, for me, that's period. There should be no recycled politicians anymore. That is the problem. It will continue, it will come again. As long as we elect the same people who messed up the country 20, 30 years ago, 20, 30 years later, God forbid, we will have the same problem. That is my take on that.
All right, Sufi, thanks for your contribution. But again, the chat box is now beginning to get very active. Well, we can see Sonny is disagreeing that the Boko Haram is not true. He said Boko Haram is a political war against the present government. And then Steve Oladeji, I'll get back to you, Sufi. I'll get back to you, Sufi. Steve is saying that this generation of youth has been made wasted by the old who have been in government since independence. And Mbasaki Martin adds that, my brother, old age is not sickness. He's trying to say that we don't just want young people, but we need young people with brains and passion to bring about change. He says that we need the wisdom of the old and the energy of the youth to get to our desired place as a nation. Sonny also adds that it's not the age group. However, he says the right mindset is what we need. But of course, we do appreciate all those comments. We do agree or we disagree to agree. Steve had already made mention that he wanted to respond to one of the issues raised by Sonny on the issue of state police. Steve, if you can make this very quick, please. We're actually running out of time.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Sure, go ahead.
I'll be quick. We have three systems of government as regard the presidential. The executive, the legislative, and judiciary, until security of the country is moved away from the executive to judiciary, and that is how it is. Whoever has been in executive position will have control over the security, and he will use it against his opponent. They did that before the coup, 1966, in the West. So, if the judicial system is independent and the police are under judiciary, they will not have control from the executive. So, if executive is doing anything wrong, the police or the security outfit will bring them to order, and that's what is happening in America. Most of the security outfits are under judiciary. So, if we continue to leave the police with the executive, either president or governor, they will utilize those security to their own favor, using it against their opponent. Unless that is changed, we will still continue to sing the same song, as I've said. That's my take.
All right, thank you. Just looking at the chat box again, Hannibal is saying that all the governors in Nigeria have security boats running in billions of naira, and he asks, what are they doing with the money? And Sufi says to say that Boko Haram is a political war against the federal government is illogical. Mbasaki, however, still is disagreeing with that. So it's almost a wrap now. Sufi, I would let you just expatiate on talking about Boko Haram not being a political war against this present administration. Just make it quick, and of course, we'll just take one more.
All right.
We close.
All right. First of all, most Nigerians did not study the Boko Haram problem. Boko Haram did not start today with the present administration. Boko Haram is as a result of failure in government to address security challenges from the grassroots level. Boko Haram has been operating since 2002, and if you study it very well, I did study Boko Haram. I did made a lot of research. Currently, I'm reading a book on Boko Haram, even though I'm outside Nigeria. And the problem is, even people inside Nigeria, they mostly rely on newspapers instead of going in depth to study Boko Haram. And if you look at this Boko Haram, the root problem of Boko Haram has the problem has root since the coming of the colonial masters in northern Nigeria. Such movement against Western education has been there, but with different ideology. So if you look at it, if you say that this is the picture basically in the country, I believe even the federal government officials believe that Boko Haram is a political movement against the federal government. The recent, I watched a recent interview on BBC News with Doyin Okupe, who made this similar allegation that the Boko Haram is a political movement against the federal government because a section of a country believes that the president shouldn't be from one section of the country or such thing. Another thing is, if you read the Obasanjo interview, that he talked about the missing girls, he said that the president did not believe that those girls were abducted for up to 2 weeks. The president still believes that it's a fraud against his government to tarnish his image. So, of course, there were so many politicians who made so many regrettable statements from a section of a country about the president. So for me, I don't think Boko Haram is basically a movement against the government, because since 2012, when Obasanjo made a move to dialogue with this group, their demands were never a change of government. If you really study the Boko Haram issue, their demands were the illegal detainment of their members and the extrajudicial killings of their members. So we need to study the root causes of these problems. If we don't study them, these problems will escalate. God forbid, they will continue. We need to study the root causes of these problems. One of the root causes is education. These people were uneducated, and they were left behind, not by Good Luck administration, because Good Luck administration just came in 2011. It has been happening for years. That is why we have a new thinking in the whole Nigeria. And other people do not even care about the Boko Haram problem. They are waiting until Boko Haram begin to attack other parts of the country. That's when they will respond. So we need to change this thinking, that if there is attack in Borno, when the Borno state government cannot handle that, the next place the attack will happen will move to Abuja or to another place. So poverty is one aspect, and then security is another aspect of it. There are so many root causes to these problems. So I don't think to say that Boko Haram is a political movement against the present government, I think it's illogical, and there are no reasons to back it up.
All right, Sufi, thanks for your own. We'll now hear from you, Ambassador, because I think you actually started this discussion, and of course it will be the last contribution we'll take on this hangout. We're out of time. We should be closing up now. I can see again the chat box is banging. Ambassador says he still disagrees. That's why I'm going to give you the right of reply to just answer that and go. Sonny is also talking about the states that earn more than annual budgets from some neighboring countries. He gives us a breakdown of the allocations as stated by the Information Minister of Finance. Sorry. And then Steve says the security vote is for their personal security. and Sonny goes down to say what is asking what these funds are being used for, and he's also talking about one of the causes of Boko Haram. Steve adds that poverty is one of the causes. Hannibal says Boko Haram might have started in 2002, but we all know that the wave of attack was stepped up since this present administration. He adds that there is a political undertone to this issue of Boko Haram, and more also the adverse failure by the governors in the north. Sonny says, no, no poor man, okay, will not have money to buy bombs and guns. Well, we understand they have some backing somewhere. I'm not sure it's alleged. Mbaseke, let's just have your take now before we wrap up this conversation.
Understand that Boko Haram problem in Nigeria today did not just start like yesterday. It's something that has been that has had its roots caused like over the years and centuries ago. But the truth is this: in as much as we might want to look at it that it has been a problem that has been caused by various failures of government and the system, but I think the recent escalation of Boko Haram in the last few years has actually been politically motivated. If you look at the Yusuf led Boko Haram, you know that it was actually politically motivated. It was a situation that was brought into place by the then governor of Borno State, who we all know, that used it as a machine, as a political tool to hunt his enemies or political opponents. Now, why I say that the failure of the failure of state police is the reason we have Boko Haram insurgency is because in other climes, in other countries, in the other parts of the world where you have effective state policing that has given rise to community policing, all these crimes are checked in communal areas, in communities. Crimes are in every community where crime is committed. It is always known that certain group of people commit these crimes, and certain group of people can be identified, or these crimes can be traceable to a particular group of people. Now, you don't in Nigeria where you have federating policing, where you bring an Igbo man from Enugu State to come and police somewhere in Chibok in Maiduguri. How do you expect the man to understand the terrain in Maiduguri when he doesn't understand the language of the people? He doesn't understand the geographical navigation. He doesn't even know what these people eat, and he doesn't even understand their religion. It will be difficult to police in that kind of environment. So you need the people who understand, the people in the state who understand their terrain, who understand their culture, who understand their tradition, who understand their religion, to be able to police themselves. So you cannot just continue to rely on the federal police to curb the problem that emanate from the states. No, it doesn't work that way. So state policing, when people say that state policing is very expensive, I keep asking the question, how expensive? Is it much more expensive than the human lives that are being lost on a daily basis by the absence of adequate security checks and balances? The question still remains no. Or the answer still remains no. So we cannot say that because a particular political party is in power, they will use state police against it. I don't buy that idea. I do not buy the idea at all.
All right. Sophia, I can see you laughing. I know you still have something to say, but unfortunately, time is not on our side. We have to leave this discussion till we come back next week, to continue and seek the way forward. But then, just before we go, while you were talking about Sufi was asking you to back your statements with reasons. And Hannibal says you are on point. He said you were hitting the nail on the head. Steve says that, the system is okay, but we as a people need to change our way of thinking. He says, as man thinketh, so he is. Politicians give bag of rice to secure votes. What do you expect when they are in office? Well, that's what would call this a wrap. We have Chris Jumbo who just joined. Chris, I'm sorry you're coming in late. We would have loved to take your own contribution to this hangout, but unfortunately time is not on our side, and we'll just hope that you join early next week. For now, we have to bring this to an end. I am Victor Matthias, and for those of you on Twitter, I would like you guys to follow the program handle so that you will get to know it's at Channels Beam. So you can just follow us on Twitter to know what we're up to during the week and next week. Guys, thank you for joining the Hangout. Sufi, thank you. You're in Taipei in Taiwan. Sonny, you're in Dubai in the UAE. Steve is in Dublin in the Republic of Ireland. Mbasake is in Buckingham in London, England. Hannibal is in Cyprus. And Chris, well, we don't know where you're calling from, but thank you for joining the Hangout. We'll hear from you this time next week. Bye for now.